responses. He's like, so instead of sending 3 days, send 3. She listens to you. She listens to you.
Oh, I know.
You know, I'm still at Badgley, I just been daily.
French fries. Okay. Fresh cut, garlic parm. Okay, I'll have it for you. Okay.
Hey, just like olden days, sitting down here.
All right.
All right, welcome to Fresh Set of Downs. Bruce Badgley, Darryl, Daniel, live from 551 West, man. Hey, what do you think of our new digs?
I love it, man. New place, great food. It's all good. It's all good. It's great to be out again.
Yeah, it is great to be out again. And, this has been a lot of fun for us being here at 551. And I got to turn this down or turn it off. Just like olden days. We'll just minimize it here. But, all the glories of, live streaming here. But anyway, just a lot went on this last week, clearly. But, we've got a great guest with us tonight. From Mike Drago Sports.com. It's Mike Drago. Come on in, Mike. Glad to have you. Thanks for being here.
How you doing? Good to see you again.
Thank you.
We're reliving, a lot of memories here. You were just talking about, Darryl and, back when he was playing high school ball or whatever like that. Obviously, you've been around, a long time, right?
Yeah, I've said that's the last time I saw Darryl almost 30 years ago. His Conestoga Valley team played Muhlenberg at Effort. I still remember that game. Great Muhlenberg team, and CB kind of took them apart.
Well, we had a great team there. We had a great game plan. We had a great coaching staff. So I think at that time, the offense that we ran no huddle, we ran spread, and it's funny because the Exeter coaching staff, a lot of those guys, they were on that Muhlenberg staff. And so I was at the Exeter Central York game, so they were talking about that. And they're like, man, I remember that game. And it's like, I totally forgot that those guys were part of that staff. So, but we had a great program. We did a great thing there, and we were very successful. And again, that was a very good Muhlenberg team. We did a good job running the ball that game. So, with Doug Meyer, and then we were able to do a lot of good things that year. And then we played Maryland Central in the district championship that year. That was another great team that we went up against. So those were some good memories, some very good memories.
Obviously. But, that just, speaks volumes, Mike, about the fact of, you've been covering, football, high school football and basketball for, 30-some years, right?
Over 40.
Right.
Over 40, yeah. This is my 41st football season in Pennsylvania.
Wow, it's incredible. And, the one thing that I can say about Mike Drago is that for a guy like me who, just started really just doing these games or whatever like that. Man's always been a gentleman to me, treats everybody with respect, for the fans, for the people covering the game and that. So it's always great to have you around. But, Mike, talk a little bit about, your new venture here, MikeDragoSports.com.
Thanks, Bruce. It's a website that I launched about 6 weeks ago, August 1st, after being in the newspaper business for over 40 years. That business just got difficult with the way deadlines are, space considerations, constant layoffs. When I started at the Reading newspaper, there were over 20 people on our sports staff. Yeah. And when I left, there were only 3 left there now. Wow. So it just became such an uphill battle, and I didn't feel that I could really do a good job writing about sports in that environment. So I said I can do a better job by myself, and that's what I'm trying to do.
And I know there's enormous risk involved there, too. I mean, that's your livelihood for 40 years that, all of a sudden you've just decided to, kind of go a different route. And not a route, quite honestly, that you're accustomed to. I mean, you're accustomed, obviously, to the print media, which, has just migrated to all online. Talk a little bit about how, what that transition was like, in the newspaper industry.
Well, it wasn't a tremendous transition because we had an online presence at the Reading Eagle, and I did a lot of things with that, and I was, self-publishing stories there, and you go on the road and late at night and things like that. So it wasn't a huge transition. To me, it's all about get it up there as quickly as you can, but do as good a job as you can as well, and provide some depth and some extra things that the print doesn't allow anymore. And that's what I'm all about. I mean, today, before I got here, I posted 5 different stories on the website, PIAA issues, and of course, Governor Mifflin got a new game this morning with Harrisburg. That was breaking news. I wrote a baseball story. We have a player from Twin Valley who's pitching for the Texas Rangers. So things come up quickly. I spent the afternoon on the PLAA Zoom call, and when I go home, I'll write a story about that. So there's never a shortage of things to write about. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about, your website as well. I mean, because this is your livelihood and whatever like that. And actually, why don't we go ahead and we got actually a special treat for our guest here. This is actually, and why don't you just set that right down in front here. 551 is just doing a great job here, not only taking care of us, but taking care of our guests. I don't think we're going to have any lack of people wanting to be on this show with this kind of food out here. This is actually the bacon-wrapped grilled cheese.
So what it is, gentlemen, it's going to be 8 individually wrapped pieces of Italian-seasoned white bread, creamy American cheese, hand-rolled in-house with applewood smoked bacon, deep-fried, and then served with a side of our homemade sriracha ranch dipping sauce. It's very creamy and luxurious and unctuous, really delicious. Gentlemen, enjoy.
All right,
you.
great,
Wow.
thanks.
We've got great food.
I guess that means that we're going to have to eat this during the show.
Oh, well, no, here we go. We'll wait that.
Yeah, we'll wait a little bit.
That's what I call health food.
Yeah, absolutely.
In my
Yeah,
kitchen,
yeah,
but anyway, you asked about the website. It's a subscription-based website, $65 a year, and we also get revenues from advertising, and the local business community in the Reading area has been terrific. Advertisers have been very supportive so far. We sold out of all of our major football sponsorships before kickoff in week one, so that was great. And now we're expanding into soccer. I have Jason Garante's writing soccer stories for me, and we're trying to get the soccer community involved. So, as this thing continues to grow and get established, and then we pick up more subscribers, we'll be able to cover more sports.
Yeah, and that's the idea too. We talk about that. There are things that you and I talk about. The fact of multimedia here too. Getting involved in some visual aspects as well. And the great part about what we do and the group is that we work together. Because that benefits the fans, right, Darryl?
Absolutely.
The better coverage that we're doing, we're just trying to support the fans, right?
Especially because, again, you're talking about District 3. It's just not talking about 1 or 2 schools. So the more connections we have, the more we can do, the more communication we have, the more we can do. So, and again, like you said, everybody wants to hear, they don't want to hear about 1 or 2 teams. Everybody wants to know how everyone's doing. So especially once we get to playoff time, I think that's going to be huge. And I just continue to build these bases and these connections we have, I think is going to be great.
And talking about playoff time, talk a little bit about, obviously this juggernaut that is turned into, Governor Mifflin. Obviously, I saw something online today, and this was the interesting thing, is that, state powerhouses, Harrisburg and Governor Mifflin. Well, it's been kind of a crescendo with Mifflin because they've been working at this for several years, right, Mike?
Right. The program has been on the upswing for 15 years, but last year was the first time they won a district championship. They'd reached the district title game once before, but they've been in Wilson's shadow for all these years, as everyone else in Berks County is, and it's tough to get out of that shadow. But now they clearly are the best team in Berks right now. They've beaten Wilson 2 years in a row. Mercy ruled them 2 years in a row. People just don't do that in Berks County or anywhere else. Wilson's gets beaten over the years, but not soundly like Mifflin has in back-to-back years. And of course, you start with Nick Singleton, the running back. Everybody knows about him. Penn State fans are super excited that they're getting Nick, and they're going to get a good one. I expect him to go in there and definitely be an impact player. I don't know if it'll be as a freshman, but at some point he's going to make his mark at Penn State. And he's built. He's a little taller than Saquon Barkley, but he's got a lot of the same qualities. Oh my goodness!
It's amazing.
Yeah, he's just a super strong kid,
right.
and he has sprinter speed. He was in the District 3 100-meter finals last year. I think he ran a 10.8, something like that. So you put his strength together with his speed. It's an incredible package. You just don't find that every day.
Yeah, and the Berks team, for me, that is really it's hard to say, maybe a little bit under the radar, but is really poised to have a great season is Wyo again.
Yeah, right. And then no surprise there. Even though they graduated, I think they had 6 all-state players graduate, which is a huge hit.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, if you watched Wyomissing deep in the games last year and you stayed to the fourth quarter, you saw the kids that they're bringing in, the second and third teams. There wasn't a huge drop-off. Those guys were still running 70, 80 yards, making big plays and showing some football skills and some speed. So they've simply reloaded. And now that Brett Myers is no longer at Middletown, they don't have a threat out there. I mean, Brett's teams at Middletown dominated for several years. 2 years ago, Weill finally got them, and now they've beaten them back-to-back district title games. I don't see that team out there that's even going to challenge Wyomissing until you get into the state
Maybe
quarterfinals.
Maybe North Schuylkill, yeah.
But that'll be state
quarterfinals
quarter or
and
semi.
yeah.
That's a long way off. So I mean, Wyomissing is just going to be on cruise control.
I think the game that I'm looking forward to, I think that the game maybe that the state of Pennsylvania is looking for is Weill against Southern Columbia, because, I mean, that might be the best shot at Southern Columbia at ending this winning streak, right?
Right. I mean, that'll be as good as a state championship game, because you got Southern Columbia defending state champion AA. Wyomissing played for the 3A title last year. Wyomissing, we can't say they're going to be as good as they were a year ago, but there's not a huge drop-off.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what do you think, Darryl?
Well, I mean, Southern Columbia has Wyoming area coming up too, so and they're a lot better than they have been in a while too. So that's going to be an interesting game. But like you said, I know those guys at Wyomissing. I've been working with those guys for almost 3.5, 4 years now. So a lot of the young guys you're talking about, I've been fortunate to work with Drew and Charlie and Juju and all those guys. Like, I've been able to work with all those Amo. So I knew coming up, and I talked to Coach O'Neill, and I said, you guys aren't going to have a drop-off next year. And, they're very modest over there, which I love about that program. They just, every week, we'll talk about playoffs, and they go, they don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about what they have this week, and that's really good. They have Hamburg this week, and that's the focus for them. So I think that team, like you said, cruise control, they'll never look at it that way. They'll go out there and they're going to handle their business every single week, but they understand that they have an opportunity to get back to that state championship game. It's going to be tough, but that is their goal, to get back to that state championship game.
And, we can't, go too far anymore and see that COVID has not gone away, the football. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've been worried about it since before the season, because people just did not get on board with the vaccinations in the spring and early summer when they had a chance to do it, and people have been resistant. And this is what happens. We've got games left and right every week in District 3 that are being postponed or canceled.
I mean, look at all across the state.
Right. And the thing is, too, now, which the new rule is, if you don't have that game is a forfeit.
Right.
So you're losing that game now. So now, like you say, we talk about down the road, a team goes 8-1, 8-2, but 2 of those games are forfeits. That affects you in the playoff. So now, if it's in 6A where it's only 8 teams, now you get bumped out because you don't have the points and you have the record to get in that playoff. So, it's tough. It's going to be a tough situation. It's going to be an issue. Again, last year we had the issue in the playoffs. That was tough. Harrisburg did everything. They got those 4 games. Get in there.
Warwick? I mean, they had to basically roll over.
Literally just gave those guys the championship. Literally. So it's going to be tough. But so these young men have to do what they're supposed to do. And I know it's tough for kids. Just tell them, you got to stay inside. Just go to practice, come home. But it's tough for kids to do. But, the ones that are serious about making it to that next level and get to the next round of playoffs, those guys are going to supposed to do like a Wyomissing. Those guys are going to be focused on, they'll get it done.
But, it's not just on the kids. They have to go home. And they live with their parents. If their parents aren't vaccinated or careful or, they're kind of victims of that.
Even from that too, there's vaccinated people that are it's not exclusive to vaccinated or unvaccinated.
Right. It's a tough situation. Well, Central Dauphin now 2 weeks in a row, they're without a game. The PNWA rule is you must play at least 6 games to qualify for the playoffs. Well, right now, if they come back next week, they've got 8. If they're out another week or 2, or maybe they come back and the team they're supposed to play has to cancel, it might be out of their control.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, how does that? The thing for me is, how does it affect the people that Central Dauphin are playing? Isn't it a cascading effect that it affects the teams that Central Dauphin is playing because they don't have enough games, or I mean, I don't know. I'm not, a mathematician to figure that out.
I don't think it's going to be a big factor in terms of power rating, just because you miss a game. But, football, I mean, Darryl, you play every week, and you want to keep your rhythm going and
momentum,
stay in that. And you don't, maybe you can afford to maybe miss a game in week 6, 7, and it won't hurt you come playoff time. But you don't want to, go into the playoffs having had 2 or 3 teams cancel on you, especially late in the season. That's no good. You need those 8 to 10 games to get ready to get to your peak. So everybody's in this together, and it's a shame to see what's happening. I mean, last year was just everybody was on pins and needles every week, and
I think everybody's on pins and needles now.
Yeah, we've been fortunate. Berks County, none of the Berks football teams have had to postpone yet.
Right.
But again, like I said, you could do everything right, and follow all the protocols, be safe, and just get unlucky, and it happens.
I'll tell you what. Well, it's going to be a tremendous year either way. District 3 football, I think, is just very, very intriguing this year. I think 6A is wide open. I think we'll get a good look at 6A obviously this week when we see Harrisburg up against Governor Mifflin.
Who do you like right now in 6A? I mean, Darryl, if the tournament started right now, who would
You talking about in the state of PA?
No, in District 3.
District 3? I would go Harrisburg. I would go Manheim Township. I got Wilson in there. Central York if they go undefeated, they'll be the number 1 seed, unless Harrisburg gets his win. So I think Central York will be in there. York High.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, they had a big win over at Coatesville last week.
At Coatesville. So they're after that they cleaned themselves off, wiped themselves off after the Governor Mifflin game. They're rolling. So I think you got to think Central York, Harrisburg, York. And then probably
what about CD East? I mean, they had a tough opening season loss. I mean, that might be the
But then we also
spoiler
Central
at the
Dauphin,
party.
like you said, though. But if Central Dolphin's able to get the games in, okay, they got the one loss to Wilson. They also could be in the mix. But like I'm probably it's going to be those top 3 teams will probably be in it. The mix probably because you never can count Harrisburg out because again down 14-0 to Pine Richland. And Pine Richland was I was able to watch that game. They were very physical, but Harrisburg, they just got athletes, and they had some great play calling down the stretch, and they made big plays. And so I just think you can never count those out. But I think this is going to be a good test for Harrisburg. Again, after playing in a physical game.
You don't think it's a good test for Governor Mifflin, but you think it is?
Well, no. Because the reason why I say it that way because they played a good Pine Richland team that was very physical. Mm-hmm. Governor Mifflin is physical, and they also have elite speed. Mm-hmm. That's the difference, in my opinion. And then Governor Mifflin's defense is very good because in their skill position, all those guys can run. All those guys can run just like Harrisburg. So that's what's going to be the difference to me for Pine Richland in the Pine Richland game in Harrisburg. Because I think, again, the physicality of Pine Richland, but the speed of Governor Mifflin is what's going to be the difference. So that's what I said. I just think Harrisburg is very well coached. They have a good game plan. That's why that game is going to be so interesting to me.
Well, I think the consensus is that it's pretty wide open. I mean, there are a number of teams. Mm-hmm. There's really no clear-cut favorite in 6A, I think. Not like there is in 5A. 4A, I think, is just as wide open as 6A. I think there are a number of teams that can, be in there. Obviously Bishop McDevitt, but Berks Catholic. I mean, it's really going to be interesting to see how Berks. I'm really interested to see how they play this week against John Paul II.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a tough, 4A school because the rest of the schools they play they're playing up. I mean, Malvern Prep and Governor Mifflin and Exeter.
Right.
I mean, obviously they play Muhlenberg or whatever like that, but they're not really playing any, typical 4A opponents. So. I think BC is going to be battle tested. How that's going to affect their power ranking, I don't know. And then 3A, obviously, you said there really aren't much. There are really not many contenders for WYO this year in 3A. I mean, that's kind of a walkover. But anyway, Mike, listen, thank you very much for joining us.
Good to be here.
And
Appreciate it.
Good to see you.
we're going to have to get you back. You know,
Definitely.
It definitely, and you're gonna have to try another thing. Why don't you take that over your table there and eat that, and then Darryl and I'll finish it off. Then what you don't get there. But Mike Drago, thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate you joining us. So, pretty special having a Mike on. I mean, somebody that I've always looked up to as long as I've been covering sports here in District 3, and some great memories from when he was covering you, huh?
Man, it just sometimes you think back, it's like, man, I can't. The way my body feels right now, it's just hard to think like, man, I actually did this for a while, you know. And so before we get in that, I got to give a couple shout outs.
Sure.
Speaking of my body, so the guys, a lot of the young ladies and the young men that I train, I'm big on telling guys to take care of their body. So I want to give a shout out to Restore Hyper Wellness with Andy and his wife Michelle. They have a great team over there. It's here in Lancaster on Royalstown Road.
I got to get in there for that.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Me about. Yeah.
So they do a good job. So guys, on Saturdays and Sundays, when you're recovering after you get that, the film session in on Saturday mornings, you got to get over to Restore. You got to get over to cryotherapy. They get the full body cryotherapy. PBM is good. Compression. The sauna is good. Or definitely get a stretch with Wilden, because a lot of my guys, I know Bo, Nick, and those guys. Yeah. So Wilden does a good job with the stretch. And also this morning, this is all what I did today. So also Laura Scott Wise massage therapy. Unbelievable. She's very good at sports massage, because a lot of times with athletes, you got to massage a different way and work on shoulders. Because I was at a point I couldn't even lift my arm above my head.
Yeah, what are they doing about your neck?
Laura did a great job today. She does a great job. So you could check her out at lswmassage.com. She does a great job over there. She has great business. She's really good and very thorough what she does. So again, that's my kind of health tip for today. You got to get over to Restore. You got to go see Lisa. They do a good job of getting your body back 100%. But you guys got to take care of your body, especially if you get into week 5, 6, 7, and your body starts to wear down. You have to make sure you're hydrating properly. We talked about the right stuff and some other hydration stuff. Make sure you're taking care of your body. So those are my wellness tips and my healthy stuff for this week.
Well, some of the teams that took care of business last week, obviously that real nail biter with the Harrisburg beating, Manhattan Township in overtime. Just a pretty, honestly, a pretty incredible effort by both teams in that game.
Absolutely. That game went into overtime.
Yeah.
Anthony Ivan did a good job making some plays at the end. He ran a great route to I think it was to tie the game up. There in the fourth quarter, but they play very well against Harrisburg. So they're another team. I think they're very young, and they're slowly picking up momentum each week. Again, I know it was a loss, but it was a close loss. Mm-hmm. So to a very good Harrisburg team.
I'll tell you what, Exeter handed it to Wilson. Mike, I think maybe a little bit surprised, not that Exeter won, but maybe by the margin that they won. What do you think, Darryl?
Well, again, we talked about this week 1. I think this is the team that Exeter has been building on for years. And these guys with JR, with Ty, with
and then
Carson.
Schlaffer getting a Penn State offer, from the game.
Pretty.
You know him very well.
We texted about that. And then Colin Payne being a first-year starter and going out there and getting the job done. So, if you take off that one play that at the end of that Central York game as they're driving in, you take that play, they're right there in the game. So that they lost by 7 to a very good Central York team. So this team is very good, and that's another game down the road I'm really looking forward to. That's that Exeter and
Governor Mifflin
at
game. Exeter.
Yeah, because they're a big, strong team. So, but that was a big win for them over Wilson. I think that's the first time they beat Wilson in a very long time. So I know those guys are pretty excited about that.
Reading High actually coming off a win. They lost to Academy Park, and that we were kind of hoping for a little bit better result there from Reading High. Southwestern, and New Oxford. That was quite a battle as well.
Yeah. But that Academy Park, they're ranked in the state. We knew that was going to be tough.
That was a pretty tough one there for Reading High.
Spring Grove.
Northern, they have been, a heck of a team the last couple of years. And Spring Grove really took it to them. See you later, Mike. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, and But we've been talking about that Spring Grove also been building and creating that momentum too, and it was pretty exciting to see them get that big win.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of with them coming on. I mean that York Adams Section 1. I mean you got 3 teams there between Spring Grove and York, and Central York there, and I wasn't surprised that Governor Mifflin, had their way with Cocalico 56-0.
Right. Again, I was surprised by the score. We again, no disrespect to Cocalico or anything. We just think, Governor Mifflin is just a formidable opponent. They're just that good. So, but 56-0, just I'm telling you, this Governor Mifflin team, and the thing that we talk about, obviously Nick Singleton. So we might as well just take him off the table because everybody knows he is an unbelievably great player, hands down. So there's no even, we already know that. But their defense is very, very, very good. Aiden Martin had an interception. He just appears in the screen.
That back end defense.
Yeah.
I mean, it
And they
doesn't
can
matter.
run.
You can't run against them. And how are you going to throw against? And Nick Singleton is a heck of a cornerback.
Right, and it just and whatever. If you beat Nick, he has a speed. He has recovery speed. So I mean, they're just good across the board, and they're just very well coached. We talked about.
All right. Well, why don't we talk about who's going to be your player of the week?
For this week, going back to that Exeter game. A young man who just had a great summer. I was very fortunate to work with him and his road dog, Philip Garrison. So Eric Nangle, 22 carries, 209 yards and 3 touchdowns versus Wilson.
Wow.
I mean, and just the speed, the change of direction. We put so much attention to detail and so much work in this summer, and to see that guy and especially in that big run he had, his changing and putting that foot in the ground, accelerating, not running out of gas. I mean, he just really have put a lot of work in the summer, and just to see his change and development, I'm really happy for him. I texted him the other day and just congratulated him. So he's going to be this week's player, last week's player of the week.
Correct. Week 3 player of the week there.
Yeah, absolutely.
By Brute Athletic. I mean, we're wearing some of their swag here. They give us these really cool outfits that we can wear here, and really everybody, it's going to be. It might be a real badge of honor. These guys wearing them around to the games or to the basketball
really
games.
Cool,
this winter. So thanks, Brute Athletic, for that. And so we had a big change. In obviously this morning with, the cancellation of Governor Mifflin and Cedar Crest, and then basically, give credit to both of these teams, Harrisburg and Governor Mifflin, that there was no hesitation, okay? There was no posturing. They were open and they played, and I think that's the single biggest message that needs to be sent here on these teams, is that somebody's available. Hey, just go play them. That's what this game is all about.
Absolutely.
It's about testing yourself, okay? And I get the fact that there's power rankings and yada, 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 but there was no hesitation on these two teams. That game got canceled, and they picked up the phone and they were playing.
Right. Harrisburg said, you're the best. We think we're the best. Let's play. Plain and simple. Again, and we know, 3 years ago, when they went up with Ruiz, the fullback, and they went up to Harrisburg on that rainy day when Yamir was the quarterback, Parsons.
I think my feet are still wet from that game.
Yeah. So Harrisburg didn't forget that, and so
that's exactly right, and that's a great point because there's a lot of bad blood.
Yeah.
That was Micah Parsons and that team that was ready to roll on to another state title is what they were.
Correct.
And, Governor Mifflin kind of spoiled that party. Yeah. So if you don't think that Coach Cal and those guys, that isn't payback for them to come into Governor Mifflin went into Harrisburg, Harrisburg coming into Governor Mifflin now, I think that's going to be huge.
It's going to be a very, very big game. And then, again, you're playing against the number 1 running back in the country. So, they're going to be ready to go. Governor Mifflin definitely is going to be ready to go. So I'm excited about that game.
A big York Adams Section 1 game is Southwestern at Dallastown. And, what's really turning out is that York Adams Section 1 is really turning out to be a minefield.
Right. And because they're playing outside of the York Adams League, and they're beating some very good teams. So Dallastown has been on the roll. Southwestern looks very good. So Southwestern, I think this is going to be their first test of the year, though. To be honest, I think Dallastown's team is a very good team, so I think this is going to be their first test of the year.
And looking at, I think, a very important game for two teams, in the lower section of the Lancaster Lebanon League, Lancaster Catholic and Columbia. I think that these teams, their season is going to be, this is kind of the jumping off point. They're either going one direction or another.
Right.
I think for both teams. What do you think? You've got guys on both sides there that you're familiar with.
Yeah, so I think Columbia took a loss last week, and I think that they were kind of caught off guard with that. So, they're going to look to get back on the winning side this week. Same thing with Lancaster Catholic. I think in the second week they had that loss. But I think they're going to be evenly matched, and that whole section 4, I think, is evenly matched. So I think this is going to be a very good game. And with it being at Columbia, because Columbia is kind of like one of those small towns, kind of like, obviously it's not to the steel high level, but it's that small town where that whole town comes in and they rally around the team.
Yeah,
and it's really cool to see.
It is. If you've never been to Columbia, it's worth it. Even if you just stop by to the Turkey Hill Museum there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Isn't
it bad that we get to the point now where we know all the food is?
I know.
Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is.
It is what it is. I think, and I think another game that's going to set teams on, their path for the rest of the year here is Penn Manor at Warwick. What do you think? Yeah,
that's going to be a good game because, Penn Manor's had some very good wins. They had that loss to Lancaster Strasburg, got back on. But Warwick, I really like Warwick's passing game. They could really throw that ball with Jack. And
I'll tell you, both teams. I mean, they're poised to kind of, like I said, who are they? Are they going to be looking down at people, or are they going to be looking up at people this year in their respective sections? Obviously, Penn Manor in Section 1 and Warwick in Section 2.
Right.
But, quite honestly, I think that Section 1 of the LLE is wide. It's just wide open.
So I think the thing that's crazy about Section 1 is that I think somebody's going to be able to have 2 or 3 losses and still win that section.
Yeah.
Because I think this year, everybody's even. Everybody's even this year. So it could be a surprise team like a Penn Manor winning the section or something like that. But I guess by week 5, like we always talk about during the show, week 5 is when everything's going to start separating. 5, 6, 7, 8, and we're going to start separating from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And but Warwick as well. I mean, they lost so much, but yet,
but they still look
oh
good.
My God, they really look good.
Yeah, that just
Very
tells you how
good.
good their coaching is.
And another game, I think that, obviously starting to connect the dots, especially in the mid-pen, CD East is at Altoona.
Yeah.
And look, CD East, very impressive. I mean, they had a tough, opening game loss, or opening season loss, but Altoona, 3-0, CD East going into Altoona. What do you think about that one?
Well, it's really cool because the head coach at Altoona was actually down at Coatesville. We were down there together. And so he's slowly been shaping that program. They struggled those first couple years, and they're slowly starting to go. So this may be the year because I talked to him, I think, a year ago, and he was talking about he has some young guys coming up, and he kind of fit what he's trying to do offensively and defensively. So that things are starting to slowly turn around, and I think this may be that year because, again, you still have State College, you have Harrisburg to deal with. It'd be interesting to see what he's able to get done and to get that team into the playoffs, and especially in districts. Again, as we know, you get in a district, anything can happen. With this COVID situation, with injuries or anything can happen. So the goal is just to get into districts now. So.
Yeah, I think so. And especially, like I said, 6A here in District 3, 6A is just completely wide open in District 3. And, I think that with the exception of really maybe the Berks League, I think, there are so many wide open races in District 3 football this year.
Absolutely.
I mean, I talked about a couple of games that are really effective District 1, but I think a key game in District 1 as well is Manheim Central going down to play like Perk Valley. I mean, Manheim Central is 3-0. We don't, because it's a crossover game there too. But that's another game that I think we talked to Coach Hahn, last week. He's obviously excited about this team, And, I'm really interested. And that's another 6A team. What are have they played anybody other than 6A team?
No, all 6A. All 6A teams.
That's incredible.
Right, yeah. So, again, in this Perk Yeoman team, they can throw the ball. So they're going to test Manheim's secondary, but defensively, Coach, he does a great job with that defense. He does a great job with that defense. So they'll be ready to go, and I'm excited to see what they're able to get done this week because, again, they're getting all those 6A points. So even if they lose a game, they may still be able to put themselves in a situation to have a number 1 seed and going to Manheim Central. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough place to play. But obviously, you have Governor Mifflin there to, if they have a slip up, because they have Episcopal Academy coming up.
Correct.
Which a program I'm very familiar with. So, and they're loaded with D1 talent. So again, they have Harrisburg and then they have Episcopal. The following week.
They're at Episcopal.
Yeah, and that's a
I think
beautiful
that's
campus.
next week, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a beautiful campus out there in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So I think it's just going to be an exciting season. I have a lot of family. I call them family in the Governor Mifflin area, and I really like that team, and I really like what they're doing. So I think this week is going to be a very good week. The next 3 weeks are going to be good because a lot of these top teams are going to start bumping heads. And we're going to start separating ourselves. So, they're going to be seeing each other early. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes.
Well, that's why for me, I'm just so apprehensive of, this whole COVID situation because I don't want it to ruin, consecutive years of high school football in this state. I mean, that's really just wiping out, one whole class of guys that, for success or whatever like that. But I mean, man, we had a blast this week. It went by quick, even though it seemed like it went by quick. I'm not entirely sure what time it is, but we do this every Wednesday at 7:00. You can always watch the replay on YouTube and whatever like that. Any closing remarks, my man, on what you're doing this week?
I'll probably be this Friday. I'm not sure. Either going to be at the Governor Mifflin Harrisburg game or Exeter Hempfield.
Well, if you're at the Governor Mifflin game, definitely stop by because I'm broadcasting it. So we could use you for halftime analysis. That's for sure.
Right. That game's going to be packed. It's a very good game. So I'll probably sit down probably tonight or tomorrow and look at the schedule, kind of figure out because I want to try to, I like to try to see a lot of the guys that I've been fortunate to work with. So I want to be able to try to see all those guys and then just kind of go from there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've got the Governor Mifflin Harrisburg game. I just kind of fell into that here today, so getting prepared for that. Me and my buddy Kerry Moyer. SSP Network also has this week Berks Catholic and John Paul II, which is a great 4A matchup there at the Forino Sports Complex. We've got all of our shows. The WPIL Blitz Show, our show here, Fresh Set of Downs. We also have our show, Pre-Snap Look, which, I didn't even talk about the fact that I was at the LaSalle TEP game last Saturday. I mean, which was pretty incredible. I mean, obviously connecting the dots. But, on Saturdays, I've been able to see teams like St. Joe Prep, LaSalle, Imhotep.
That's going to be a good game coming up down the road.
Oh, my God. Well, oh, my God. What's going on down in, District 1, District 12, especially District 12. I mean, what? That round robin that's going on down there between Wood, St. Joe Prep, and LaSalle, is really going to be something special this year. It really is. But don't take away the fact that District 1 in 6A with Garnet Valley and, even though Coatesville lost to York High, they're still going to be there to the end. And, there's going to be a lot of teams. I think, I'll be honest with you, I think that the area that maybe 6A might be down a little bit, might be, from top to bottom, might be the WPAL this year. Pittsburgh Central Catholic really tough, but I'm not sure how everything else is going to stack out. But, it's going to be a lot of fun, man. What do you think?
I can't wait.
All right. Hey, listen, thanks for joining us here. Another one in the books here on Fresh Set of Downs. Appreciate you supporting our sponsors. Get Recruited Consulting with our buddy Andrew Cohen. Andrew just does a great job. If you want the personal approach to your recruiting, if you ever want to pick up the phone and just find out how your recruiting is going, then you got to get involved with Get Recruited Consulting, our friends at Brute Athletic, and of course 551 West, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they do a great job. Hopefully we can eat a little bit of this food that was left here from Mike Drago, and a huge shout out to Mike Drago for joining us here tonight, because it's really special. So thanks for joining us. Hey, we'll see you next week here on Fresh Set of Downs. So long, everybody.